In this video, I will be talking about the Macintosh LC475. Announced October 21st, 1993, it was a small yet capable computer targeting education. The LC475 can trace its name and low-profile wedge shape back to 1990, when Apple introduced the first LC, which stood for low-cost color. In 1992, it was replaced by the LC2, which was kind of a dud, but they eventually got it right with the LC3 in early 1993, and the LC475 followed later that same year. That big jump in version numbers brought with it the top-tier Motorola 68040 processor running at 25 MHz, and a more streamlined case design.
Did I hear you right? Did I hear you say it?
Oh god. Come on, DP, I'm doing a new video here.
I don't think so.
Oh yeah? In this video, I will be talking about the Macintosh LC475. Wait, I already did this part, I think. No? What was I, dreaming? Okay. Was it wedge? Yeah, design-wise, the LCs had more in common with this old tilt stand than any modular Mac that came before them. Its architecture was basically that of a Centrus 650, so nothing new there. While the LC475 served education, there was the Performa 475 for consumers. Oh, and the 476 with larger hard drive. And the Quadra 605 for business, but with a modified flat case to match the design of the Quadra 610. It was like a Quadra 610 Mini. Selling 3 versions of the same product catered to each market was pretty ingenious. So much so that I'm quite sure Michael Spindler had nothing to do with it. Wait, what's going on here? Where am I now? Restoration. I find that using isopropyl alcohol works pretty well for removing most case markings. Like, dude. Wait, these aren't my hands. What is going on here? DP, no!
direction. A man decides after 70 years that what he goes there for is to unlock the door.